Alrighty. Hi, everyone. We'll give it just a minute to let people get on in here, and then we'll get started. Alrighty. Rhonda, you ready? Let's get started, I guess, since we've
Ready. Let's
got a good group.
roll. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Hannah Nixon. I am the Director of Marketing here at TCare. Since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, we wanted to create a space for an open and honest conversation about caregiving, stress, burnout, and the importance of supporting your own mental health while caring for others. So just a quick housekeeping items before we get started today. This webinar is being recorded and the recording will be shared after the session. We'll also do our best to answer any questions that you have throughout the webinar. So please post your questions in the Q&A or in the chat. And I'm very excited to be joined with Dr. Rhonda Brown, who is our VP of Strategy and Clinical Operations. She will be leading today's discussion and sharing practical ways caregivers can better support their mental health. So with that, Rhonda, I will hand it over to you.
Well, thank you, Hannah. Thank you very much. And it's always a pleasure to guide and drive these conversations. I know we're all here because just to learn, gain more. But before we truly begin, and I hop into all of the meat of today, I want to take a moment to frame a bit how kind of how I like to party at a webinar. So for me, I like a good interaction. I like to hear how people think and get your ideas and get you thinking. So this particular session is designed to be warm and practical and action oriented. I want you to be able to walk away with some things and supportive, really, of all roles and experiences. So whether you are joining as a healthcare professional or a caregiver or a person living with mental health challenges or someone just simply trying to learn more, there's a place in the conversation, in this conversation, for you. And I encourage you and will hopefully ignite you to definitely participate and share your thoughts. Throughout the session, we'll have a few interactive elements because I love a good live poll or chat prompts. We've got some story case scenarios, and a few personal reflection moments actually as well. And so these are meant to keep the session just engaging and help move the content from information to action. I pet peeve of mine is participating in things like this where we get a lot of blah blah, but not a lot of things in action, things that we can implement. I also want to note that the webinar is purely educational, so it is not a substitute for individualized medical or psychiatric or therapeutic care in any way. But if at any point in today's content or discussion, it brings up, something personal for you, I encourage you to take care of yourself in the way that you need to, in the way that feels right. And that may mean stepping away briefly. It may mean jotting down a resource, or even reaching out for support after this session. All are good things. And this month is about taking care of ourselves, mental health, and all that is connected to. So most of all, my hope is that today leaves you all feeling more informed, more confident, and frankly, more equipped to take that next step in just being conscious and aware of our own mental health and the significance and importance of taking care of ourselves. So without further ado, jumping into my first favorite thing, which is a good live poll, right? Here we go. So before we move forward, we wanted to hear from all of you. Mental health support can really mean different things to different people, depending on your experiences, your comfort level, geez, and what season of life that you're in. For some people, it's everyday coping tools. For others, it may mean professional support. Community, or just simply figuring out, kind of where to start in the process. There's no right or wrong answer here. So just take a moment and choose the option that feels most true for you today. So we'll use this just to get a sense of where everyone is coming into the conversation. So D. Yeah. Okay. Okay. A lot support from others, right? Daily coping tools, support from others. Crisis support. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things that I always think about as, when anytime that I'm anywhere near this particular question or this kind of a question is I'm struck by sometimes the stigma of mental health support and what that means. And thinking about, like, sort of plant a seed to think about a little bit, kind of what mental health support means to you and how that may be influenced by some of the challenges and stigma around mental health. If I had a life or world eraser, it would be doing just that, erasing the stigma of mental health, but look at the richness in what that can mean. It all answers are true. So I said there's no right or wrong answer. It is what mental health support means for you. And I think important to think about that, along the continuum of what our experiences are. There may be points in times in some experiences where the friend support or social support or that kind of thing is sufficient, and other times where I may need to step it up a notch to support. But anyway, thank you all for participating in that poll. So before we jump into strategies and support tools and all of that, I want to start by acknowledging something important, and that is the space of caregiving. There's a quote by Rosalind Carter, and I don't have it up right now, so I'm going to misquote it, but you can look it up. And she says, at any point in time, at some point in time in our lives, we are either going to be a caregiver, need a caregiver, or in some situation like that. Like, so caregiving touches all of us, and no matter what the issue or concern might be. And here's the thing about caregiving: it can be emotionally heavy. It may be in our heart and wiring to support and be there and wrap love and support around caregiving around a loved one, friend, family, what have you, or even in the work that we do, right? It could be a foundation of our wiring, but that doesn't mean it cannot sometimes be heavy or draining or weighing on us in some kind of way. Many caregivers are so focused on taking care of everyone else around them that they don't always notice how much stress they're personally carrying. I know that I'm kind of that person. Like, I'm like, oh, nope, got it. Keep going, keep going. Like, uh, Dory, if anyone's a fan of oh shoot, I can't even think of the name of the movie, but where Dory says, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Yes, exactly. Um, Thank you, Robin. You saved me. You saved me. There are four kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need caregivers. 25 stars to Robin, because my mouth is running, and so it was hard for me to pull it out. Thank you, thank you. But I love that quote from Rosalind Carter, who's done amazing work in the space of caregiving. Or had done, throughout her lifetime, amazing work in the space of caregiving. I call the space of caregiving the invisible population. If you guys are in healthcare at all, right? It's you keep giving, you're weighing on it, but not a lot of work is. Thank you, Alexandra. There you get like another 25 stars, because I couldn't think of Finding Nemo either, but Dory's a swimmer, right? And so and that's how in caregiving, that's what we do, right? We just keep swimming. We're taking care of everybody else and not even realizing the challenges or stress or distress that we ourselves are experiencing. The stress, disruption in our relationships and daily routines, physical health challenges, many caregivers that we've worked with to support, all of a sudden we're talking to them and it's like an aha, oh my gosh, I think my health insurance may have lapsed. And I'm so worried about taking care of the person, in my world and helping my loved one and helping them. But more than 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness or some sort of mental health challenge each year. When you think about the statistics of caregiving added onto the stress of daily life, it can be overwhelming, impacting sleep, stress levels, physical health, emotional well-being, I mentioned, and especially over time, right? If you've ever felt overwhelmed, exhausted, anxious, or emotionally drained while caregiving, you're not alone. We think it's not okay to sort of talk about or to mention it or what have you, or we try to ignore it because, we're swimming, we're trying to get all the things done for ourselves and for our loved ones, but you're not alone. This is a common crisis and it has significant impact. So with nearly 1 in 4 adults experiencing some mental health challenge each year, and caregivers themselves are at even higher risk of mental health challenges and burnout because of the constant emotional and physical demands caregiving can bring. Now, one of the most important things I want everyone to hear today is this: taking care of your mental health is not selfish. It is a part of caregiving too. And I'll give you like my prime example. I love to travel. It's one of my favorite passions. And so I fly a lot. And the one consistent speech that I can quote is, please secure the oxygen mask on your own face before helping the child next to you. Why? Because if you're passed out, there's nobody there, to take care of the person that you're traveling with. Same thing, same concept. If you are not stealing a little bit of that time in some kind of way to take care of yourself and your own mental health, then you aren't able to be full. We're limited containers, right? So there's not enough room left in your container to be fully present and do the caregiving that's in your heart to do. So today's conversation is really about practical, realistic ways to support yourself while continuing to care for the people that you love and the folks around you. So, important things to remember here. So caregiving, it's not just helping with tasks, and I think that's important to point. It's not like, I'm a caregiver for my mother, who is 84 years young. and a pistol. But not that you need that information, but very independent, loves to do the things on her own, and is very distressed because she cannot. I am there every single day taking care of some kind of task for her. But it's not just about those tasks. It's about having to think ahead about her doctor's appointments and keeping track of the things that she's shared with me over, the last month, so that that can accurately be communicated. Managing her emotions and uncertainty about, her future, and can she continue to live alone. She was so excited because she's still allowed to drive. um, I limit that sometimes, but she's still allowed to drive. I was very excited that her driver's license was renewed. But emotional distress, thank you, Florian. The emotional, like the look on her face when she came home and the DMV had authorized her to continue driving. She's like, my driver's license got renewed for another 3 years. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, oh, yay. But for her, and that sense, that feeling, and having to manage and hold on to that for her, it's coordinating the appointments and the medications, while I'm balancing work, the wonderful work that I do with my TCare team to support caregivers on a large grand scale, but then manage sort of my household and all of the crazy things that happen within it, and the finances, family responsibilities, carrying the stress that other people may never fully see or know about. And many caregivers are managing all of this all at the same time. I like to say, okay, so I have my mother, and then there is her brother. And in the state of Missouri, I am the only person here of my generation. So I have both of those folks that I am caregiving for. Deployed husband, two children in college, back to four, two dogs, and all of the things, right? And so it can be a lot. And I know I don't have half of the burden that other folks are also experiencing. So, because that caregiving is a part of everyday life, people do not realize just how challenging it can be. So, I think Hannah, you can skip maybe 2 slides. I kind of talked through one. Excuse me. So, working caregivers are, we're carrying a lot, right? So the full-time jobs, family responsibilities, all of the things that I mentioned. 7 in 10, this statistic blows me away. 7 in 10, excuse me, caregivers are employed. 7 in 10 caregivers are also employed. So, I have this. I may be doing caregiving for my mother, but I'm on my computer. I'm answering work emails. I'm trying to manage appointments. I'm, taking calls with the doctors during lunches or during breaks. Sometimes feeling a bit overwhelmed, but keeping it together because that's what you do. That's the face that you bring forward. Holding it together, and sometimes, feeling a bit emotionally drained, and that impacts how you are able to be present, just, in your day-to-day duties. Sandwich caregivers are balancing multiple generations. I think that's a little bit of kind of what I was describing, right? So I have my mother, her brother, also her sister, but she's, in Jeff City, so not quite as close. I have the three of them, along with my own two children, although they're a little bit older. And so you're kind of sandwiched in between these two generations that need you, that need care. So, helping the children with school. I found out that does not end with the progression to college. So I'm getting another degree is what I've decided. Managing the household responsibilities in two different places. If there's work to be done at my home, my husband's deployed, so it's just me to sort of navigate and take care and coordinate all of that. But similarly, if there's work or things that need to be taken care of at my mother's home, then I have to navigate and manage all of that as well, or uncle's home. So, yeah, Florian, you get it. Like, full-time employed caregiver at the same time, both parents. Yeah, exactly. And that is, oh my gosh, I just absolutely want to touch on that, Florian. Until you were forced to quit your full-time job because it was just too much. But that's what you needed to do to just kind of probably stay on top of things and keep breathing. That is one of the significant challenges of being in this caregiving space, is that oftentimes things do reach a point where there's decisions like that have to be made. And then the financial impact of that potentially on the family, the stress and strain that then creates and brings to your mental health as well. And, making sure that you are surrounded with the supports that you need to just help, sometimes not solve, but just the place to vent, the place to, just talk through what your game plan needs to be. These are the challenges, right? That we end up having as caregivers. Next slide, Hannah. Another dynamic that I think that we see often, um, in the work that we are doing, is just the challenge of caring for children with complex needs, right? And how emotionally demanding that can be. It's like an extra layer. It's an extra layer. And what will happen, or what we have to recognize at times, is that for some of our children with complex needs, the caregiving is going to be a lifelong journey. So, what that caregiving looks like, depending on the age or stage of that child, is going to change. So, the support you need is going to change across that journey. And that's critically important. So, up to this point, we've been talking mostly about caring for perhaps our aged loved ones, right? But this is a whole new dynamic. The caregiving as a parent, I say, this is my rule. If you are a parent, you're a caregiver, and we need not minimize that in any way. No matter what the health of your child, you are a caregiver. When our children have more complex needs, whether that be behavioral, whether that be developmental, medical, those are going to be impactful. That caregiving, right? That lane of caregiving is going to be impactful in different ways for a long time. So you're not only managing the appointments and the therapies, but then there's the school support. And is the school doing what the school is supposed to do to support your child in the way that they need to? So that's a whole other level of advocacy that is so important, and might I add, intensely draining when the answer is no, the school is not doing fully following through with what they need to follow through with. Many caregivers are feeling, and I don't know, raise your hand if this resonates, but many caregivers are feeling always on. Like, I can never, there are some days when, things are popping with my mom and her brother and the, and the kids and all the things. Yes. where you feel like you're always on. Like I will sometimes get to the bed and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think I sat down mentally or physically the entire day. Right. So the responsibility, and that's particularly, yes, Anna, that is particularly challenging for when we are supporting our children with complex needs. It can be very difficult to rest, to step away. It can also be very difficult to give yourself permission, even when a support presents itself, to step back and step away. But it is so critically important. One of the things that I know is that with the folks that we work with is trying to build in. So I spent many years in the managed care world. And one of the things, common requests that our care managers, my care managers would receive is a request for respite, right? So any kind of respite resources. And it dawned on me that we have systematically defined respite as the thing to do when we're about to pull our hair out. And I tried to take a slightly different tact. I want to gift this or share this with you guys. What if from the get-go, from the beginning, we created avenues of informal respite that were just simply a part of the routine, right? So for example, um, at least once or twice a month, I pushed for twice, but my mom tried to stick it to one. But at least twice a month, once or twice a month, my kids would do a day out with Grammy. And it was a full day out. Grammy got them all day, all night. They had sleepover. They did their thing, right? And they did that from when they were really young, right? And so that was a part of our routine. I knew that I could count on, and it was that occurring. So it wasn't simply held for when I was about to pull my hair out and then, didn't know which way was up, which, was a lot of days. But anyway, um, what if respite became a part of our regular routine, right? And something that we built in from the get-go. So just some things to think about, but acknowledging caring for children with complex needs is not only even more emotionally draining and taxing, but it is going to be a longer journey, right? A longer, consistent journey that is going to need to look differently at the various developmental stages. So important to know. So, okay, we're going to circle back to one of my favorite party games, and that's the live poll. So, tell me, do what helps you feel most supported as a caregiver? Very interested in this, in your responses to this one. So share with me, what is it that, and just drop it in the chat, the things that make you feel most supported as a caregiver? Talking with someone that you trust, taking time to recharge, practical help from others, feeling understood and validated. And fair answer, I'm still figuring it out. It's a day-to-day journey. And so, with that, yeah. You know what? Recharge. Gail. Yeah, feeling understood and validated. Isn't it so it's amazing to me how just feeling heard and somebody saying, "Oh my gosh, you've got to be exhausted." You're like, "Yes, I am exhausted. Thank you for giving me the word." Huge. Thank you, Kevin. Yes. So, um, for some people, it's like the everyday coping tools. For others, of course, it's that professional support. There's no right or wrong answer. Want to use this to just kind of get a sense where everybody is, but um, I didn't add this question to the mix, but for those of you whom I would probably say, it's all of you, who by caregivers in some way, I wonder how often do you engage or seek out the support that you need, right? For for me and in my family and in the culture of my family, caring for others, it's a part of it's it's what you do. Like, you oh, so and so's got a, mom's got a this, or so and so's got that. Okay, I'll be right there. Who's going, or what's going to happen, or whatever. It's just it's what you do. And sometimes I'm just going to speak for myself. If anybody, if it resonates, you know, welcome to the club. But uh, I find for myself, I know talking to someone and that feeling understood and validated, those are two things that are helpful to me. And sometimes that talking with someone I trust, that's where that, being heard, understood, and validated, it sort of flows out of that. But guess what silly business I engage? I don't want to bother anybody. Well, I don't want to burden you. Well, you don't really want to hear about da da da. If I could tell you how many times I've received a smacking from my besties, yeah, Gail, you feel me. It's like, you don't want to get in the way. It's like, oh, well, they got their issues or whatever. And so we don't seek out the actual support that we know that we need. Right. And that's a challenge. That's a work on me thing. I'm sure it's a work on a many people thing, but I'm I'm working on it, Gail. So I'm challenging you to join me in the work on that journey. Um, but this is so this piece, thank you, Hannah, for Hannah's my guide and guru. So I could talk about this all day long. She's going to keep me moving so that we get out of our time everything that we need and we're looking for. And so, yes, appreciate you, Hannah, greatly. So I was talking about this stigma piece just a few minutes ago, right? And it's one of the biggest barriers to getting support is the stigma, especially for us caregivers, right? Um, and many of us as caregivers feel like we should be able to handle everything on our own, even when we're overwhelmed. It takes a lot for me to crash, right? Like, so I know that I have a pretty high threshold before I'm like, needing to just step away and take a break. But I also know if I did lean into some of those things that I know are supportive for me a little bit more frequently and give myself permission to do that, I might be able to not be as overwhelmed. But it's very common, though, very common for us to minimize our own stress or convince ourselves that our needs. Gail, give me an amen if this sings for you. Convince ourselves that our needs are less important than everyone else's. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's me. Well, I'm not going to bother. Like, I can take care of it. I'll figure it out. Whatever. And then my besties are like, why didn't you call me? And I'm like, well, I didn't want to, right? So we're doing that to ourselves all the time. So work on us then, Gail. So work on us. But us needing support doesn't mean we're failing. I don't know if I always put it into that failing. Well, maybe I do. Like if I dig underneath the real why, I probably do. Like I should be able to handle this. I should be able to do it. But getting support doesn't mean that we're failing. It means, wait for it. I know it's going to come like a shocker for most people on the call. It means we're human. What? What the what? I'm human? No, I'm Superwoman. Hear me roar. I can do all things at one time and keep my sanity. Not so much so. Not so much so. I've had days where I've proven the not so much so to myself. But in fact, if I were to, as I mentioned, reached out earlier, to my besties or that support that I know that I need that would be helpful, I probably wouldn't get as burnout because once I crash, I got to step away for like a couple of days, right? And that's not good for my family team that I'm trying to take care of. Because what if I'm stepping out and they're like, like, hey, I need, right? So part of supporting our mental health is learning how to replace the self-judgment with self-compassion. And let me speak into that a little bit deeper just for a second. That is not the flipping of a switch. So give yourself some grace. That is a process of self-talk, of working through, of hearing the self-judgment and shutting it down, right? I know. Then you feel selfish. Exactly. But that feeling selfish thing, that is that's not the angel guy on your shoulder. That's the red guy on your shoulder trying to convince you of some nonsense. It's not selfish because if you don't take care of yourself, again, remember, going back to my last airplane ride, oxygen mask on your own face so that you can have the capacity, the wherewithal, the breath, the air to be able to take care of those around you. Highly, highly important. So many people think mental health support only matters once someone reaches a crisis point, right? That's we're conditioned to sort of think that. Um, but favorite word in the dictionary these days is prevention. Prevention, 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 prevention. And it actually starts much earlier. Once you hit crisis mode, you have to spend time recovering from all that crises does physiologically and in other ways before you can get to the relief, right? And that's not healthy. I know that, but I gotta work it, right? It's the small, consistent forms of support that make a big difference over time. The small, consistent things. I'm kind of an all or nothing thinker sometimes. And so I'm like, well, if I can't jump in full feet, all body, doing it all, then I'm really not doing it. And it's really at the times when I can kind of break it down and just do a small thing. I just take a little lap or a little walk or took up yoga, not recently, a couple of years ago, and learned how to breathe. Sounds like it should be simple and automatic, but it's not. I found out. And just taking a step away to really, truly breathe, that diaphragmatic breathing, right? To just relax and reset your nervous system. Huge. Those little things like the rest or movement, quick breaks, um, you know, and asking for help sometimes. Those are not luxuries. They're actually protective factors. And you identify those people in your circle who can support you and pour into that. So for caregivers especially, it's important to remember that you do not have to earn support by becoming completely burnt out first, right? Like in order to get support or get help, I don't need to be passed out on the floor. I can just raise my hand, right? And it's in those caring for yourself in small ways that help you protect your health and your well-being, long term. So get this, just some, oh, I think I talked all through this particular slide. So what protects mental health? So staying connected to the supportive people, those short breaks to recharge, getting enough rest when you can, when possible, moving your body, like breathing. I don't know if I have that one even on here. But it's those small rest check-ins that are absolutely, absolutely critical. So a couple of things that I want to point out also just, kind of statistics. I mean, these really kind of bring it home for me. So did you all know that of high school students, right? Of high school students, 40% of high school students felt persistently sad or hopeless, right? So this is kind of like understanding that um youth sort of mental health and why this connection is so important. 20% of high school students seriously considered attempting suicide. 9% actually move forward with that attempt. 40% feeling hopeless or sad. 20% consider or have thoughts of suicide. That's a large number, right? There's so 20.1% or like 20%, roughly had at least one major depressive episode. And that's across all adolescents, like that whole 12 to 17 age range. So why is that important? What do those stats tell us, right? That feeling connected to family and school, that connection piece is part of the protection for youth mental health, right? It's one of the clearest examples of why connectedness in and of itself really truly matters. So here are the things to look for in ourselves and in others, right? Across the board. And I say this because if we're not always sort of conscious, if we're like Dory and we're swimming, we just keep swimming, and that's really how we kind of approach things, which we've learned today is normal. It's natural. We don't always recognize the signs, right? We don't like, what is our trigger? What is the message to me that, oop, I'm headed for a crash? Am I constantly exhausted, low energy? Am I irritable and like, popping off, very easily at, minor things? Am I withdrawing from people or activities or, feeling mentally checked out? What's my eating like? Do I have a sense of overwhelm by just the basic tasks like, oh my gosh, I got to put the dishes in the dishwasher. I just cannot do it, right? Um, that may or may not have been a live example over the last couple of weeks. Or just saying things like, as people ask, "Oh, how are you doing?" "Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine. Just, kind of struggling." Or, and you're clearly struggling, but you're reporting out that you're doing fine. Think about these. Which ones resonate for you, right? For me, it's I will be intensely exhausted trying to do tasks and falling asleep in the middle of it. That and just kind of withdrawing, but my withdrawal is for the purpose of swimming faster, which is not helpful. And I swim faster, and then I hit the exhaustion, and then I got to check out for just a moment, right? So pay attention to these different uh kind of different triggers, for yourself. Or you may have, no, you can go ahead, Hannah, to the next one. Or you may have other triggers that we did not even have, on the list, right? So I'm going to pop us into a couple of um, yes. You know what, Gail, that is a really good point. Every single thing on that list we experience at different times. And what I find is at different stages in terms of my not being preventative and asking for help, I'll feel and I'll look back like that hindsight. Oh, I wish I had hindsight forward, but that hindsight is like, oh, yeah, that's why I bit her head off. Because, I was like, and then I'm like scrambling to go back to the person, like, I'm so sorry I bit your head off. I'm just, I'm exhausted. I'm, whatever. I need to own it. Like that's a big thing for me. But let's look at Danielle. So here's a case scenario. Danielle. So Danielle works full-time in healthcare. She helps to care for her father. She's skipping meals, she's not sleeping, she's irritable, starting to kind of withdraw from friends and others. But ask ask Danielle how she's doing. Danielle's got the song down. Oh, I'm fine. Um, I'm fine. Everyone's overwhelmed, but I'm fine. I'm okay. So let's think about this. What is one supportive thing that someone could say or do for Daniel? See it in others. Oh, yes, yes, that's exactly right. We see it in others much quicker than we catch it within ourselves. Exactly. That is so true. I can help all day long, but you need to like take a look in the mirror half the time. So you don't have to pretend you're okay. Here's just some things that helpful responses that may sound like, you don't have to pretend you're okay all the time. Like it's okay to not be okay. You guys, everybody's heard that saying before. It's okay to need support. What feels hardest right now? You're doing the best you can with a lot on your plate, or I'm glad you said something, right? So those are some helpful responses. You may have other helpful responses. And sometimes, have you guys ever had this, like where someone will ask you, they may say, well, what can I do? What can I help you with? Let me tell you why, for me, and that may be a helpful thing for others, but when someone says, well, what can I help you with? I'm struggling to keep track of what the next thing is that's got to be done. I wish I could tell you what you could help me with, but that would take me 30 minutes to actually stop swimming, to sit down for a second and figure out what would be the thing that I might be able to hand off to you. Kind of like what you're saying, we see it in others quicker than we catch it, within ourselves. Sometimes we notice that there's something that we can do, or we know someone's going through something, and just take it upon ourselves to say, hey, you know what? I could, I've got some time. I could help you. You know, I'm pulling something out of the air right now, but I could help you pick up the kids if you needed, if you needed to. Or I do have a bestie that's, she's kind of always there. And there was a couple times, there was one time when she said, you know what? Let me stop by your mom's house. I haven't seen her in a little while. And I can grab her trash for you today. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's just, noticing something. She saw me, she heard me, and she was able to step in where I wouldn't have even been able to ask her to do that because I wouldn't have thought of it. Kevin, okay. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for coming. Here's some other, you can go into the next slide, Hannah. Some other small steps that can really make a difference. And I want to send a challenge for you guys for this week. Just this slide alone as a takeaway. Just pick one thing. Just one thing. And take that one thing and break it down if you need to. So for example, reaching out to someone you trust. You may not have even sat and thought about who that might be right now at this point in time. Break it down. Just identify the person. Maybe that's the thing that you might be able to do just in this next week. Or exploring other support groups or caregiver resources, or, when doing some of those very small things like taking a walk. There's a young woman on my team, and I just love her, and she's very versed in wellness and health, and that's kind of her specialty area. And I swear every day she has her lunch, but she goes out and she takes a walk around the building. It could be cold. She just puts her coat on. She takes a walk around the building, and that's her reset. It's the small little things like that, even sitting at your desk, closing your eyes, and just breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. That can be a simple thing as that, starting to breathe. Like that was one of my things for this year is I learned how to breathe effectively. And y'all should try it. Like you think you got it down, but I learned otherwise. But just commit to doing one small thing, not a bunch of things, but one small thing. And why do I say that? Because caregiving and navigating the caregiving journey, it is a journey. It's not a destination, it's not an endpoint, but it's a journey, the experience of it. So give yourselves grace and permission to navigate through that journey effectively. Excuse me, next slide. We wanted to pull together just a few resources that can be helpful. Of course, folks are familiar with the 988 crises, suicide and crises helpline, always available 24/7. SAMHSA has a number of really good resources available. Excuse me, also available, 24/7, can make referrals and support in that way. NAMI, here's what I love about NAMI. They are a support and advocacy group, but a lot of peer-led support groups. And that is huge, right? Just being able to sit and kvetch with other folks that have shared experience with what you're going through. So make sure you capture these resources to refer to. Next slide. So sadly, because I love this topic, it's of course after my own heart, and have thoroughly enjoyed getting to connect with all of you today. But as we close, I want to turn the conversation slightly into something personal and practical. And what I'd like here is to just take a moment to look at, oh, no, that's I was going to have you look at the prompts on the other side and make sure that you wrote down those resources. I was going to have you all do that. And Hannah, I don't know. Just yay. Okay. That's exactly where I was going because I couldn't remember. Yes. So with this QR code and the information that we have here, there's some personal resources and that you can actually take away. Hannah was instrumental in supporting, TCARE in developing a caregiver health and wellness ebook that has been just truly enjoyed. It's gotten some nice reviews from the folks who have accessed that. We have additional resources. TCARE resource. Oh, see, look at that, Hannah. John says very helpful with the red exclamation point. So yeah, validating that it's a good resource for you guys to be able to pour into. It has been like, we know, and what we've talked about today is that just recognizing, giving grace and space to the reality that caregiving can feel overwhelming at times. And just frankly, the day-to-day and stress of work and all the things can feel overwhelming at times. And support doesn't have to end with just this discussion here. But I encourage you all to just take one step, do one thing to pour into yourself. And if Mental Health Awareness Month leaves you with nothing else but kicking into routine of taking care of yourself, just one thing, just doing one thing in the course of a day can make all the difference and be extremely helpful to your health and well-being, but also the care and outcomes for the loved ones that you are caring for. So taking care of yourself is also a component of the caregiving that you are doing for everyone else. So awareness matters. Personal action changes outcomes for you and for your loved one. And wraps up all that I have today. I absolutely appreciate and thank you all for spending the time together with us today, for caring about health and caring about yourselves, for the people that you love and the communities that you serve. So please let us know if you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to share, and have enjoyed and appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. That was awesome. And I see some comments in here. People are thanking you, and Gail, I loved all your comments. And she said, "Thank you. I needed this." So I'm sure we all needed this at some point, especially this week, because I know it's been a little bit of a crazy springtime. If we don't have any more questions, we can kind of end it here. I did put a reminder in the chat. All of our resources, presentation, recording, all of that jazz will be sent in a email later today. And we'll also have a survey link to give any feedback or any awesome comments or anything like that for Dr. Brown, or any suggestions for future topics too. So be aware of that coming in just a few hours. So if we have nothing else, thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.